A new rumour is doing the rounds that Resident Evil 1 will be the next game to be remade. But the question is it a good idea? Well, the answer to that is yes. And no. And rather than me just sitting here telling you why, I thought I would use these M&Ms. Take this glass of blue M&Ms, which was a lot fuller than this when I started filming. This is the original Resident Evil. And then we've got some yellow M&Ms. In 2002, the Nintendo GameCube did a remake of the original Resident Evil, and they made a better version of it. So what they did was they've taken everything that was good about Resident Evil, made it better, improved the voice acting, like this.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
That was a close one. A second late, you would have fit nicely into a sandwich.
And what also they did was they improved the storyline as well. So they expanded on what was already there. They didn't take anything away. They just made a few quick little tweaks here and there. And then, you know, it basically replaces the original game. Alexa, what colours do blue and yellow make? Green. Should have made green. I've got orange. I should have made green. So now we currently have Resident Evil 1 that's been remade. But we've also got the original. Now, Resident Evil 1 Remake, you can actually play on all systems. So you can find it currently on PlayStation 5, on Xbox, you can find it on your PC. Resident Evil, the original, is a lot harder to find. And probably if you've got an original PlayStation 1, or if you've got emulation on PC. And if you want the best possible version of it, I highly recommend that you play the seamless HD version. There'll be a link in the description for it. Okay, so question is, if they're looking at remaking Resident Evil 1 and bringing it in line with the Resident Evil 2 and 3 versions of the game, which version are they going to go with? Are they going to remake the original one, or are they going to remake the remake version? I'm sure that makes sense somewhere along the lines. My concern is that if they remake the remake version and they also incorporate the original version, they're going to mix these two together. And blue and yellow makes green. So now, technically speaking, we'll have 3 versions of Resident Evil 1. There was definitely a lot more in there. My only real concern is that out of this now hybrid of Resident Evil's remake and Resident Evil original, is that they're going to then chop bits out of it. So rather than having the blueprint for Resident Evil 1 being the remake, and that should have been really the blueprint of all the remakes they did, like Resident Evils 2 and 3, they'll chop little bits out here and there. So we'll take some of those out, which then it won't make it compatible. At the moment, Resident Evil 1 is compatible with any version of Resident Evils 2 and 3 that you play. I can understand them wanting to remake 2 and 3, because again, like the original Resident Evil, it's in there now, the original Resident Evil 1, it was very hard to play them, but remaking them and chopping bits out and changing things around separated them off into 2 separate timelines. You've got the remake timeline and you've got the original timeline. Resident Evil 1 fitted into both. It really didn't matter. It could have gone into either one. Alright, I admit it was just an excuse to buy some sweets. There's no official confirmation from Capcom at this point, and no information really. Just some rumour mill that's going around that it's going to be released in 2026. So I'll pop a link to that in the description. But in all honesty, could this actually be the death of the original trilogy? I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, and just we've seen Wesker's story rewritten already. In the original game, it was very much clear-cut. He was just working for Umbrella and saw an opportunity to make a lot of money. And so he was going to steal the T-Virus and sell it on the black market.
If I were you, I wouldn't give up such a big discovery. You guys are idiots. No one understands its real value.
So, you're going to steal all the research?
Better yet, I'm going to show you the tyrant.
This one was switched up a little and, you know, kind of tweaked a bit in the remake.
What? What are you planning?
I guess it's time for show and tell.
It wasn't until Code Veronica and Resident Evil 5 that he went completely mad.
You have no idea how much I hate you. You destroyed my plans, so now I've sold my soul to a new organization. Now, die.
With Resident Evil 4's remake, we've seen a completely different Wesker.
Mine or Sadler's?
That all depends on you. Change of plans. Of course, you're free to refuse.
Think that gun's gonna be enough?
Interesting.
A Wesker that wouldn't really fit into the Wesker that we saw in Resident Evil 5.
Ouroboros will be released into the atmosphere, ensuring complete global saturation.
So it's safe to say that that game's probably going to get a remake at some point. It also might mean that he doesn't actually die in that game. I mean, come off it, he is the greatest villain in the Resident Evil series. But in order to big up that rivalry that Chris and Wesker apparently have, then it's going to make more sense to go back to the original game and retell that, having more focus on Chris and Wesker. I also wonder if they do actually remake it, are we going to get a canon ending where Chris, Barry, Jill and Rebecca all escape at the same time? I suppose bringing this more in line with the remakes of 2, 3 and 4, then these games are going to be more available for modern audiences, but it does mean that the original characters in the original trilogies are going to only be for the people that seek them out. I don't really know how I feel about it. In all honesty, it'll be good to wander around the Spencer mansion in third person's perspective. Yeah, I can imagine it'd be quite scary. But I do love Resident Evil 1 Remake. They did such an amazing job with it, and I really don't want to see it die. But what do you think? Tell me in the comments, is remaking 1 a good idea? Have the tank controls put you off playing it in the first place, or is it just a waste of time and money and they should really be concentrating on Resident Evil 9? And speaking of Resident Evil 9, what do you think if it went open world? Well, if you want to know what that's about, then you need to watch the video that's on screen now. Thanks for watching, don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll see you survivors next time. This also means that the